Hi family, what Spirit wanted me to talk to you about today is shadow work, and specifically observing the shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow, which is our subconscious mind, has both good parts to it and bad parts. So in Jungian psychology, shadow work can be good parts that are subconscious and bad parts that are subconscious. And this is really important for light workers and healers to understand that our subconscious can have good shadows. What happens is when we are unconscious in our behaviors. So let's say for, really nice person, if you are just loyal, right? You just subconsciously just act loyal in every situation. So you are just acting loyal to somebody who doesn't deserve your loyalty. Or if you are nurturing and taking care of somebody who doesn't deserve your nurturing. That's how codependent behaviors happen, is because somebody is just subconsciously wired to act a certain way. So what Spirit wants me to talk about today is that our shadow work doesn't just involve getting rid of toxic or negative behaviors. It is about becoming conscious in our behaviors, period. Any kind of behavior that can be. Because a lot of times for, the children of the lights who are here and who are trying to do good work, we get trapped in these relationships and trapped by people who the enemy uses against us to try to waste our time, suck our energy, get us in a bondage. This is really important to understand because we can just be acting out our own nature without being aware of the fact that we're being sucked dry, we're being abused, we're being, our time is being stolen, that we're in a trap. So I want you to kind of really think about the toxic relationships that you may have around you, the people. When you have a really good, nice heart, then a lot of times you will make excuses for people. You'll make lots of excuses for people, especially those of us who are here and we are healers and we see this broken person. The fact is that we will just heal people, and some people will just continue to take advantage of that. And if we become conscious healers, if we use our beautiful nature in a proactive way, also protecting ourselves, and everything we do is conscious of, some people don't deserve to be able to suck us dry energetically. They don't deserve it. And we have to be aware of that. So if you're observing the shadow, you have to go inwards into your own self and meditate and pray on what you are feeling inside. Are you feeling resentful, neglected, depleted? If you look around at your friends, co-workers, lovers, your relationships, you have to identify toxic people that are using you, and you have to delete them. You have to get them out of your energy, or you have to set really, really healthy boundaries. You have to be conscious of the fact that some people will just use up your energy and use up your reserves, and then just kind of like they'll just throw you away. When you're done, when you're depleted, when they've taken everything they can out of you, they will throw you away. And you didn't do your job. You didn't do your job here for the collective, for everybody, if you're allowing one person to drain your energy or to keep you in a trap. So just think about that. Our unconscious behaviors that are good can also be harming us. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, so if we go into the shadow negative aspects of people's nature. So inside of ourselves, we all have our, quote, dark side. If we can make friends with our dark side and use it as a servant instead of just being triggered, that's powerful, because we are integrated beings. But when we come into this reality, a lot of things about us, we're told, are bad. So for example, let's take sexuality, right? So in our puritanical realm right now, a lot of us have been told that our sexual nature is evil, especially like for me growing up in a very Christian, which I'm grateful for, very repressed Christian religion, denomination. A very repressed Christian denomination. My mother is wonderful, and she was very much a balance of that, and she taught me that sexuality is good and wonderful. However, when I was 14 years old, I was pulled into the back room by one of the elders, and I was wearing a tank top up to here, a box cardigan, a box skirt down below my knees. There was no shape. You can see any shape. I was covered from head to toe, and boots. It was wintertime. And he told me that I dressed like a slut and I needed to watch myself. There was no skin showing. There was no skin showing. Thankfully, I was old enough to understand that that was his problem. And thankfully, my mother had taught me that sex is a gift between two people who love each other in divine union, and that it's a very spiritual and sacred act. So I never thought of my body as being evil or sinful. But there's a lot of male and female religious people that believe that their sexual urges are sinful instead of healing, and they repress that. So there's men out there who want to demean women and say that women are evil because of their own repressed sexual urges. And there's women who, they go pretty much, people go crazy when they repress all of their sexual energy. It is definitely a beautiful, healing, sacred act between two people that adore and worship each other, and there's that divine union. It is divine union. So that's just one example. When people repress the darker parts of themselves, there are certain things, I mean, obviously, that when you're dealing with the shadow inside of yourself and inside of other people, if you can observe the moments when you get very upset, if you spend enough time, which it doesn't even have to be that much time, if you're spending, let's even say 15 minutes in the morning, you wake up, you consciously connect to the divine and go through and kind of scan your body, scan your aura, scan the way you feel. And then as you go throughout your day, do another scan. Scan yourself. And if you get upset, if you get triggered, if you get sad, if somebody says something, then look inside of yourself to see, is it just what this person said? Maybe they were a douchebag and said something stupid, and it kind of like brought up an anger in you. That's normal. But if there's just kind of like other emotions, like maybe if you've had a weight problem, somebody calls you fat, and then it brings up, oh my goodness, in middle school people called me fat, and in high school people called me fat, my ex-husband called me fat, and then you're going to just go into this rage or into this sadness because this stupid person said something to you that brings up all of these other issues, brings up all of this other stuff. So there's a difference between if you're going throughout your day and something normal happens, or if you just overwhelmed with emotions and it's a trigger and there's all this pain, there's all this stuff that's happening. If you're going into that, try to take a moment away if you can and look at it. Even though it's painful, look at it and say, oh, you know, that's exactly what my dad used to say to me, and that's horrible, and it makes me feel awful. And then as soon as you're done with that, turn around and say, but you know what? That's his opinion. That was his opinion. Love yourself. The quickest way to heal your shadow, right, is to love yourself. Accept yourself. Accept yourself. I'm doing the best I can. None of us are perfect. Nobody here is perfect. All of us are dealing with stuff. All of us are dealing with issues. All of us need to come to an awareness, and if you can love yourself, then you can love other people. If you can forgive yourself, you can forgive other people. If you can accept yourself, you can accept other people. So dealing with your shadow really has a lot to do with owning the parts of you that maybe aren't that great. And then, because we have so much going on, we need to work on that. You know, collectively, all of us need to work on that. So after not allowing someone to take advantage of you, which is very important, you have to, observing your shadow and your subconscious, not project that onto other people. I think that all of us light workers have had to deal with people where you can see this thing that goes across their eyes, and you feel something different there. And this is really important because people's shadows, including our own shadows, can actually open us up to negative entities. And I'm sure if you haven't repressed it, if you will allow yourself, when you're dealing with other people, if you look beyond the mask, it's kind of like when the agents in the Matrix will go through someone. That happens. That happens. There's negative entities. And what it feels like is, if you're dealing with negative emotions, that some other force tries to come, and it feels like a seduction, and it feels like a power, and they try to make it feel really good. I can see it happen, and I am aware of it, so I don't let that happen to me. But a lot of people are completely unaware of this happening, and I think that this happens a lot in pedophilia. In our society, sexual repression in itself is really bad, but when people repress their sexuality, then they can go into all of these very dark places and weird things, and I think that pedophilia is associated with that, definitely, where it's kind of like this dark shadow of lust. And then a negative entity will come into that and then harm the innocence of a child. It's very demonic. Also, when you're talking about addictions, when people are addicted to things, it darkens their aura. So when negative entities, demons, reptilians, whatever you want to call that, when they look at people, they can see where the darknesses are. And different darknesses, where it is in our aura, correlates to the spiritual deficiencies that we have. So when we are doing shadow work and we're looking at our spiritual deficiencies and we make those areas more bright, then it makes it very difficult for any kind of negative entities to harm us in that way. Let's say if we have darknesses in our mind, where fearful thoughts, body dysmorphia, and twisting our minds against other people, if we are consciously elevating our thinking, and when we feel those thoughts coming into our mind, you dismiss the thought. If you have a fearful thought, you dismiss the thought. A lot of times what we are feeling or ambushed with when it's negative, it's not even us. It doesn't have to do with us. It has to do with the spiritual battle that's going on. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. So when we're dealing with observing our shadow, we can observe other people's shadows. When one of my sons was about 8 or 9 years old, he was out playing basketball after dark with some neighbor boys, and he ran inside and he was crying because what he had seen is one of the neighbor boys ran to chase the ball, and he saw a demon jump inside of the boy, and the boy came straight at him and started strangling him, and he had to fight to get away from the boy. I'm sure that you have had instances in your life, especially if you're a light worker, where someone changed, you know something took them over, and then they were trying to harm you. We have to observe the shadow. We have to be aware of it in other people, because the shadows in other people can be used to hurt us, and we have to be on guard. We can't be naive. We can't be completely innocent. Oh, the world is rainbows and candy and everything's a fairy tale. It can't be like that, because it's not that way. It is not that way. And especially for the children of the light, we need to be on guard. You have to observe around you the people who are around you who can be used against you. Whether that's in sabotaging, gossip, or downright violence. You have to think about that. You have to get those toxic people away from you. It's a lot, I know. So, my ex relationship that I'm going through right now, we had a lot of good in our relationship. However, when he would get mad, he would fill himself with negativity towards women, woman hatred. And I wouldn't even do anything. He'd start spouting off about women, and I would start defending women, and then he would turn it on me, and he'd get angry at me, and he even walked up to me and he says, I should punch you in the face. Like this. He threatened to dump me on the side of the 10 freeway in the middle of the Arizona desert. When I tried to break up with him, on multiple occasions, he threatened to kill me and my kids. So, even though there's good in a relationship, there's nothing good enough to keep me in an abusive relationship. And even now, after we broke up, after he threatened to kill me with my gun and ripped my hair out, ripped part of my hair out, he expected me to take him back. And he leaves all of these horrible comments under my spiritual channel videos. He has tried all different ways to harass me. And no, I'm not going to take it. Obviously, he's somebody, he speaks violence against me. I'm not going to allow him in my life. I'm not going to. And even all of his comments, it's called the narcissistic, what is it? It's a classic narcissistic personality disorder. Oh, the smear campaign. They all do it. The narcissistic smear campaign, where they try to turn people against you by saying all of these horrible, twisted things. They take a lot of the truth out, and then they manufacture something, and then they try to say bad things against you with all of these little pieces, these truthful pieces taken out. And he doesn't own up to the fact that he threatened to kill me and my kids. That he had his fist in my face. He doesn't own up to that. Don't allow toxic people in your life. Don't cut them out. It's absolutely, all of the stuff that he's doing now, trying to harass me, is worth not having him around. And it makes me hate every minute that I spent with him. And it erases all of the good times. It erases all of it. That's the only thing that he has achieved by trying to hurt me, is he has erased any good feeling that I ever had towards him. So you have to watch out for those people, unfortunately. And they can even be family members. They can be people that tell you that they love you. And that's something inside. I've had to kind of deal with this trauma that somebody who told me that they love me, it will also try to hurt me. That's a lot to kind of like go through and to take out of you. So do not put up with that. Don't make excuses for them, and do not put up with that. So the last thing that Spirit wanted me to talk about, my own shadow, before we get to that. So my shadow, I have anger issues, and when I was younger, I would I would totally go off on somebody, but I don't do that anymore. Somebody has to really, really deserve it. They have to ask for it. I will contain my anger. I will retreat into my shell, and I will let them know, I don't want to talk about it right now. I don't want to talk about it when I'm angry. And then I wait until I'm not angry anymore, and then I can talk about things like a rational person, right? So I've had to work on my anger issues. However, my anger is also good because I use it to defend myself, to protect myself, and to protect other people. One time, when I was driving, I saw a man punch a woman in the car in front of me. And I got so mad, and I started chasing him, and he was trying to get away from me, and I was chasing him, and I was so mad, and there was nobody in the car with me, but I was going to get him. I was so mad. And I was chasing him all around town. He was taking all of these this way and that way, and finally he got sick of me, and he stopped, and he pushed her out of the car. When I went up to her, she had a big black eye, and so I took care of her. You know, my anger got her out of that situation. My anger got me out of this situation. I'm not going to be abused. I'm not going to take it. My anger makes me want to fight injustice, makes me want to fight for other people, makes me want to do this work. My anger makes me want to do this work because I want to fight against evil. So I've taken what could be considered something that could be very bad, and I've turned it into my servant, and I've turned it into my sword, and I've turned it into my shield. So then other issue that I deal with is depression, and not just my depression. Being an empath, I walk into a place and I absorb the depression of somebody else. So I'll write music, I'll write poetry, I'll channel it into something creative and artistic, and that helps to get rid of it. Or just like self-care, a hot bath, face mask, something like that. But we have to take our shadow, the negative emotions, turn them into something positive. Don't continue to be distracted by this world. Okay, last thing, cosmic shadows. This is really interesting because most people, when they're children, they can kind of see, like the boogeyman or whatever. But as people grow up, they turn that off, and they completely disconnect and disassociate from that, and they repress that. They repress all of the feelings that they have of the energies around them. And some people, they distract themselves with drinking, they distract themselves with drugs, they distract themselves with video games, they distract themselves with television, they distract themselves from being here. But it's important to understand the shadow that lives here sometimes. In my prayer and meditation time, I'm shown when portals open to the demonic realm. And for an example, in December, I don't remember what day it was exactly, but I was in prayer meditation and I saw, it's kind of like this clock, it goes ch, ch, and then a portal opens. What I understand now is that it has to do with astrology. I've been learning about that the past 7 years. I watched the Leo King, and he predicted all of the COVID-19, the pandemic that's happening. A lot of the stuff, he predicted it. So I highly recommend the Leo King. And what I have seen is when I'm experiencing something or seeing something happen in the spirit realm, I'll watch him to see what's going on. Usually it has something to do with Saturn and Pluto. It usually has something to do with that. So in December, there was something happening astrologically, and I saw these dark kind of alien spaceships. I did see spaceships this time. This was kind of the first time I saw spaceships. I normally just see them, the reptilian demons. And I saw some kind of insect-looking creatures coming, and it was this war, this wave, this army that came into my area. And then in the spirit, I saw them going into homes and into people to inhabit. Right after that, we had a series of head-on collisions. We have one highway running through town. We had a series of head-on collisions, one after another, after another, after another. We had men holed up in their homes with their guns, shooting their guns, police standoffs, SWAT coming to their homes, telling them to come out with their hands up. We had a few of those, and we don't know if they committed suicide or got shot by the cop because they didn't really tell us. They didn't really explain how it ended. We had people setting their house on fire. There were robberies, like armed robberies. There was all of this violence that happened right after I saw that wave of evil come into my town here, the area that I live in. So myself, I started going around praying because calling the angels in to take these things away. And the whole thing lasted 3 or 4 weeks until they were gone, until they were pretty much gone. But now, then in January, something else started happening. Now we have the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, and there's this evil cloud that feels like it's covering things. So I will listen in the spirit and observe what's going on in the spirit realm. And when I see something happening, then I will go to look and see what's going on in the astrology. And the correlation is amazing. The correlation between what I'm experiencing in the spirit and what's happening in the physical is really interesting. So I highly recommend in your shadow work, we are part of a bigger universe. We're part of a bigger universe. And especially I'm going to talk to the empaths that are here. The empath's job is to transmute energy, to take negative energy and to transmute it into higher energy. And I did a whole video on that, on taking your power as an empath. So that's just another thing to consider. I want to listen, make sure that I covered everything. Okay, so I did. I covered everything that I was supposed to tell you. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, Goddess Mother, I thank you for your child watching this. I pray blessings in the storm for them. I pray peace and deliverance and wisdom and guidance for them. Please help them to integrate their shadow and to make that which is unconscious conscious, and especially the things that are harming them. Please show them, give them wisdom and the strength to be able to deal with it, the strength to be able to heal it. Please empower them completely, keeping them connected to you. I thank you for surrounding them with angels even right now. I pray for all of the families who are going through a difficult time in this pandemic crisis, for all the families and the children, and also those families that are not happy families and those homes that are not happy homes. I pray for your help for all of your children going through this right now, and also that you will take care of their material needs. Give you the praise, honor, and glory, and also the nurses and the doctors and the healthcare workers. Please keep them safe. Please help them to heal completely themselves, protect them, and also I thank you for sending your healing out into the world, even right now. In your holy names I praise you, and in the name of Jesus. Amen. So I love you. This is a perfect time to do shadow work. Go into the pain. If you have pain inside, I have been sitting meditating because I just went through a traumatic experience, trying to get that out of me. I want to be myself again, my happy, happy self, my happy, creative self. and to just heal, the negativity that I have absorbed. That's a shadow too. But you go into it and you look at it, you send it light, you send it love, you sit in prayer, you call down light, you rescue yourself by doing that. And when you heal yourself, you're able to heal other people too. Okay, I love you. Blessings. If you want to get a hold of me, amyangelconnect@gmail.com. I do private personal readings. You're going to be okay. Okay? You are going to be okay. You are okay. Just tell yourself that.